Alrighty, good morning. And why is this thing always picking the wrong? I don't understand my camera. I swear I went into the camera settings on the way in here today and I set them all up and it always picks the wrong view. I don't know. There, zoom in like magic. There we go. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to House Edge Live. It's John from ProCraps on your favorite channel, Casino Gaming TV. How are we liking the show name? It looks like, it's funny. I see this comment here, which is great. And I actually was on Facebook last night and somebody said, hey, what are your favorite your favorite YouTube channels? And somebody mentioned House Edge. And I think they meant this show. And I'm like, that's cool. It's been live for a week and it's somebody's favorite. I used to think that that list would include some other players than it does. Go look at the post. The people that write into that post are putting some old channels on there, which is kind of fun to watch, right? But they're still putting Bone Thrower in there, which is kind of surprising as a favorite channel. But luckily, nobody's putting Jimmy out there. Anyway, let's get into it here. I have an interesting show today. It's not what I wanted to talk about, but I'm into a conversation now, and I really want to come back and address a little bit of what I said yesterday. So I'm going to mark Jen's comment here as a favorite. We'll come back and talk about it later. But let's hit into the bridge talk really quick. And I think today's conversation is going to largely be about these topics in here, and specifically how they all mesh together. And I say this every day, and I don't clearly always say it correctly. So I want to try and suss it all down here for us, right? It's the marriage of all these things that is the bridge. The bridge is, again, it's David from Casino Quest's general idea. These are the things I've been talking about with you for 6 years now, right? And I want to marry them together. Your bankroll drives everything. It tells you what strategies you can afford to play or not play. It tells you how aggressive or passive you need to be. And it's not just the bankroll that you buy in with, it's the bankroll that you're currently looking at, because you may have lost your ass for a few rolls and your bankroll's at a third or 2/3 of what it started with. That has a lot to say about what you do, right? Your appetite for risk or your aversion to risk tells you what you're allowing yourself to do with that little bit of bankroll or that big bit of bankroll, right? When you play with excess or when you play at a short stack, your risk relationship has a lot to say about it, right? Yesterday we talked about identifying opportunity, which could mean the chance to leave when you're up, and we're almost always up, right? Or your discipline, right? The muscle that lets you walk, the muscle that keeps you on task and not chasing stuff that you think is happening, right? Understanding your win goal, your loss limit, keeping yourself under control emotionally. And again, strategy and mindset are the connective tissue of all this. Now, yesterday, I made the comment, go back over here. I made this comment yesterday when talking about the bridge that people who play a ladder, and I'm looking at like Dr. S and Waylon, I even called them out by name, and I said, look, these guys play with bankroll as their hammer, not logic and discipline. And I think that came out wrong. I'll stand by the point, but I think it came out incorrectly. That doesn't mean that they don't have logic and discipline. Okay, what I mean by that statement is that the ladder players, and I know, and Dr. S and Waylon are good cases to talk about because they're so different. I think Dr. S, as far as I know, has one way to play. He's published it. Here's my published way to play. And he's got this laddering system, right? That's very, very rigid. It's like you're going to be at 110, then you're going to go to 110 and he has his leveling, and he take 2 hits at this level, go back. He has this whole thing planned out, right? But it's laddered. He has the bankroll to do it. He's not relying on other things. His primary focus is that ladder and the math that went into making the ladder, right? His proclivity or his the word I'm looking for is escaping me, but it's like their focus is that, right? Waylon, the same thing. Waylon's got 1,000 ways to play or more. He's got the book of Waylon, right? I've got 5 ways to play, and I say this all the time, right? I couldn't keep 1,000 ways to play in my head if I tried. Waylon does somehow, right? Waylon, when I say leans on the bankroll, what I mean by that is that the primary thing that makes the strategies function, like the mechanics of it, is the bankroll, because you do have to ladder and ladder and ladder, right? The logic and the discipline from Waylon comes in during that process. And I didn't mention that yesterday, but the reason why I have so much respect about the ladder, or about the way that Waylon plays rather, is Waylon always says things like, be satisfied. He says, look in your rack, know where you are. A lot of times he'll ladder up during a losing period, take a hit or two, and not come all the way down the ladder. And he's like, hey guys, stop, pause, look at the rack. We're actually ahead right now. We don't need to keep laddering, right? And he makes the adjustment in real time. Waylon, with 1,000 strategies, also can adjust to what's happening, right? If he's throwing the dice, or if Alicia's throwing the dice, or if his dad's throwing the dice, and something different goes on than what the strategy he's playing supports, he's got a gigantic bag of tricks to pull something out of and go into, right? That's the logic. That's the discipline, right? Waylon will always walk when he's up. He will not get his ass kicked, right? So when I say things like, you know, ladder guys, I don't mean to say ladder guys are dummies that are just beating the casino with their bankroll. It's not what I meant by that. What I meant by that is that if you go back to the bridge, right, of these things, if you were going to do like the 5 love languages of craps, their biggest bucket is bankroll. They're prioritizing bankroll as the way, right, as the primary tool they have to beat the casino with. That's their primary tool. For a lot of us, our primary tool is not that. We don't have that kind of bankroll to support that kind of play. We just don't. I don't have the kind of bankroll to do a ladder unless I'm playing bubble craps. I just don't do it, which is, again, a reason why personally it doesn't work for me. I can't roll in there with $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 and let it work itself out. I don't have time or money to let it work itself out at this point. So I don't. I've learned to play other ways, and that's just a personal preference thing, all right? So I'm going to talk more about that here in a little bit, though, as we go, because I think I talked to Waylon about this last night quite a bit. We had quite a conversation last night, and a lot of things came out of that conversation that I think I wanted to address today, and I think it's great that we get a chance to do that. So let's do it here in a minute. Before we do, reminder, Dice Cruise is in Fort Lauderdale, and I asked you all to, if you want to go on that, come to me. John@procraps.net, write to me. We will talk all about it. I'll get you all hooked up. Dr. S actually wrote me yesterday, like I asked him to, and he did, and we're going to get him hooked up and hopefully be on the cruise. Wouldn't that be great? Speaking of cruising, Jen says, is the Radiance my favorite ship for craps? I don't know about my favorite ship for craps, but I did love the table. It was a great table. We got off to a really rocky start on that cruise because they did not know on that cruise that we were coming. They didn't know that Premier Casino host had a presence on the ship, me and a few other families. So they didn't have our setup for the welcome party. They wouldn't let me have the data that I needed, none of that stuff, right? So it was ugly to start, but it was a good crew. It was a great table. I loved that crew. They were such a good crew there. I loved it. It's a smaller ship. It's a much smaller ship. So, you know, there's really 3 bars. There's one central area where the band plays, right? Like on other boats where you've got like these massive promenades with like 4 bands playing, you don't have that on the Radiance. It's a much smaller ship. I loved that part of it. I loved having everybody on that ship know who I was. It was really it was a great experience. But favorite, I don't know. I've been on 2 ships, right? I've been on Radiance and I've been on Harmony. 2 completely different experiences. One freezing my ass off outside with the beauty of nature in a small ship where everybody knew you. One massive ship, all about the craps, made like 30 great new friends. Whole different experience. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, they're both my favorite. I will definitely, with his permission, re-demo his ladder next week. If you'd like to see it, I can do it. We did it as a daily paycheck, and I got thumped. If you recall, I did a week of it way back, and I got destroyed. But let's give it another shot. Let's do it here on the small table, and I'll lay it out for you and show you how it works. He's like Vince, right? He's got this like little card and chart where he has it all laid out, and it's like, I forget it now. I want to say it's 110 inside, and it's like 2 hits and then a stop. If you go down, you go to 220 in, and it's 3 hits back to 110 for 1 hit. He has the whole number of hits thing is where he makes it work. It's very interesting stuff. Where Waylon is more of a, you know, up, down, down, check the rack and go. That's where the discipline comes in from Waylon. I told Waylon last night, like, man, I wish you would talk more about your loss limits, because he says to me, dude, you know, even though I use the bankroll, I'm never going to take an ass kicking of $500 or more. And I'm like, say that, man. When you do your videos, say that. say that. Like, that's an important piece of it, because people forget, when they watch videos, like, and I think we all get a little bit lazy about this. I know I do, right? And I'm right here, mea culpa, the guiltiest person of all. I will put a Whalen video on and I'll go, that's cool. He's going to do, the DC, the come, the 6 and the 8. If it goes down, he's going to bump up the DC, but not the come. 6 and 8 get laddered up for one. And I'm like, okay, that's cool. And then I go to the end and I see how he did, right? I don't really watch the whole thing. I want to watch the meat of it. And then I want to watch kind of like towards the end how, like, I watch him start it off and play it a few times, and then I'll just kind of zip down to the end to see what happens, right? I think a lot of people do that. I think a lot of their average YouTube watchers go, oh, there's Whalen's latest thing, and they write it down and they go off and they fucking play it without thinking about it, without really getting into the math that Whalen put behind it to say, here's why it works. Like, the reason why you ladder this one and not those two, or why you ladder those two and not this one, is that this win recovers, and he has all this figured out. But I think a lot of people are lazy and they just don't watch it all, right? So you got to watch it all to really understand it. Now, we're going to get more into that here in a second. Ken from Ken Knows Gambling has been doing a great series. Now, I think, can I say this out loud? I think he's 40-0 with him and Whalen's retirement plan strategy. 40-0, it's crazy. And Ken, to his credit, will let a thing go until it dies, right? This thing is never gonna die. It seems like, I feel like it's gonna go on forever, which is actually pretty cool. It's a super safe way to play. It's led Ken into doing a YouTuber challenge. Now, I've done this before. I've done the 3-unit challenge and whatever else. This one's going to take some luck, recovery, planning, and discipline to get through it. He wants all of us YouTubers. And Whalen, it's going to be hard for you to pick 5 strategies, right? You got a million of them. Ken wants to pick your 5 favorites, play them at the $25 level, and win 1 unit and walk out. That's it. That's the whole challenge. Is your strategy good enough to win a unit? Like, are you doing something stupid that you can't win a unit with it, right? Are you lucky enough? Now, for example, let's say my strategy of choice is an inside press, skill 66 style, right? That's my strategy of choice, where I would go at this level, I go 110 inside, take the $35 hit, drop them $9 to go to 154 inside, take the 50 for 1 and walk away. That's a strategy that you could play. For example, in this thing, it's the skill 66, but up a level. The thing about that one is, if Ken's rule is 1 unit and walk, the first hit on the inside means I'm done. In other words, I set up the 110 inside as my basic play. Am I lucky enough to win that? Do I have the discipline to walk away if I do? That's the first part of the equation, right? If that's the case, that's the case. John's favorite way to play is 110 inside. Okay, now, if I go down on the 110 inside, then we get into planning and discipline and say, can the core of the strategy, which is to go 110 to 154, 50 for 1, and leave with a $75 profit, is that going to be okay to recover? Now, once you go down the 110, you got to do that second move twice to get it back. And it's going to take discipline to go, okay, 154 and out, and wait it out, and then do it again. That's what Ken wants to see, is the discipline that it takes, and can the strategy you're playing recover from a loss if it happens. Now, if I happen to get lucky 5 days in a row and hit the first inside number before we go down in flames, I'm going to feel really bad about calling that a win. Right? I'm going to feel really bad about saying, yeah, I got it, because you got lucky, right? I really want to see the recovery of these things, right? And some of them are going to be interesting, right? You can go 160 across, take a hit, and walk 5 days in a row and be like, hey, I'm a champion, right? Some of them are harder, right? The horseman, $50 on the don't and a come bet. I may go down all 3 bets on the first shooter. I got to win now. I got to win 4. Some strategies take a minute to get rolling. Sometimes on the horseman, you get a come out craps number and you walk away. It's going to be easy, right? Easy. It's going to be interesting to watch how these things work. Okay, so I will do it. I will do on this show starting next week. I'll pick a strategy. We'll do it 5 days in a row. Every day we'll do one of them, 5 days in a row. And I'll start the show with that. We'll try and win our unit before we start the actual show. Okay, so I'm going to take the challenge, and we'll talk through it as we go. And the 5 strategies I will pick, I have not determined yet. I kind of have. I only have 5 ways to play. I don't play that very many different ways, right? You got duck and cover, you got the skill 66, and which is the same strategy, just coming from different levels, right? You're either going up or you're coming down, and we'll see how it looks. I just want to give it a shot, right? And so we'll do it all the time, all the ways through. We do, Tom. It's kind of cool, actually. We have this kind of back channel, right? And the thing is, we all have each other's phone numbers, right? So, for example, I did my show yesterday, and the day before that, and Ken called me up immediately. Hey, dude, great show. Blah, blah, you forgot to say, you should have said this. I'm like, I forgot, He does a video like an hour later and says the thing I forgot to say, right? Yesterday, I do the show, and I say, Waylon and Dr. S play with bankroll, not discipline and logic. Waylon goes, you son of a bitch, what are you talking about? And I'm like, oh shit, I misspoke when I said that, right? So that's why today's great. Now we have a good show for today, right? Let's talk about what I was getting to with Waylon yesterday, okay? Now, I think it's an important thing. And again, I'm gonna go back to the bridge. Bankroll, risk, identifying opportunity, discipline, goals, emotion, strategy, mindset. These are some of the things that make you a player, not all of the things, okay? If I gave you a quiz and I said, look, rank in order the things here in the order of importance to you, bankroll, strategy, blah, 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 blah. And you did that, okay? And then I said, okay, cool. Let's see where we land with all of that, okay? How do you want to win? What is your hammer? Is your hammer your brain? Is your hammer your feet? Is your hammer your bankroll? What differentiates you from everybody else? When do you leave? What is status? All these questions I could ask you, right? We can put them into the AI and say, make me a pie chart that shows me as a player. Well, here might be what Waylon looks like or Dr. S looks like, right? Where if you sliced up, and again, here's only 6 things, that's all I could fit on screen, but you might have 20 things, right? Here's some of the things, right? Waylon and Dr. S might say, the biggest piece of the pie for me is bankroll. I use bankroll because I need to ladder up the loss on a couple of levels. I need to have some backing chips to make it happen, right? 14%, right? A slice of me really cares about the trends. I can switch to a strategy that's working better for me, right? I've got discipline. I've got money management. 10% of it is the strategy because the strategies are already figured out. He's got the book of Waylon. Dr. S has his chart. They've already figured that part out. The strategy is the smallest part of the thing, right? Because they pick one, and with trends, they pick a different one. That's all that it is, right? The strategies aren't complicated, right? They're not doing calculus at the table. They're going, I'm going to, you know what I mean? That might be what his pie chart looks like, right? For somebody like Ed or Gargoyle, their pie chart might look like this, where the biggest part of it is their DI, right? It's their mechanics, their toss, their landing zone, and all that stuff, right? Bankroll doesn't matter. I know Ed buys in for 620 every single time. Stack, stack, stack. That's what he buys in for. It never matters, right? The strategy doesn't matter to Ed. Ed plays the same way every time. If it's not him, he plays this way. If it is him, he plays that way. Period. End of story. He has his patterns, right? Those two things don't matter as much, right? Ed's a big trend follower. Ed watches what's happening, right? If the variant is X, he's betting Y. He's doing his thing, right? That is how he does it. He leans on his DI and his ability to read the table, right? The money management and discipline might be smaller slices for him because it's built into what he does. It's all like the strategy builds that in. I'm going to do blah, 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 blah until this happens and I'm out of here. Right? That might be the way, and I'm guessing, this is a pure guess, right? Just talking, this is how I would make their pie chart if I was talking to somebody, right? Me, Ken, people who like maybe smaller bankroll, it's more like this. Bankroll is a small part of it because I don't have a lot. So bankroll is something different, right? I worry more about the strategy that I'm playing. I pick a different way. I don't give a shit about trends, right? I'm not a very good DI. But I lean on discipline and money management to get me through the day. I manage my rack like a maniac, and I'm like, okay, I'm out of here, right? That's the thing, right? That's the thing. Your chart will look different than my chart. It looks different than Ed's chart. It looks different than Waylon's chart, right? Everybody has a way that they want to experience the game and that they're able to experience the game based on this stuff. That's what I meant yesterday when I said bankroll might be your hammer. It doesn't mean that other things aren't there, right? These pieces of the pie are all present. It's what you prioritize. And how do you decide to employ a strategy? Your bankroll dictates what strategies you can and can't choose, or what tables you can and can't play. $500, you can't do a real ladder on a real table. But $500, you can do a ladder on a bubble craps at $1 level, right? So your bankroll determines where you got to play, what you got to play. Sometimes this is what you can and can't play, strategy-wise. That's an important bit of it, okay? So make sure when you hear me talk about the bridge stuff, I want you to picture the pie chart. I even put this pie chart on that bridge page as a reminder, because I think everybody has a different chart. And I think knowing what your chart looks like is what's determining your success or failure, right? If you want to play a strategy or a system that is leaning in on whatever, this big piece of the pie, whatever that piece, like let's say that I want to be here. I want to be where I can guarantee myself 3 rolls. And everything I do is based on being a good DI. But I suck at throwing the dice and I ain't got a home table. Well, guess what? You're going to fail. If the biggest slice of your chart is the thing that you're the worst at, or the biggest piece of your chart is the thing that you can't practice or work on or improve upon, you're going to fail. The biggest piece of your chart is bankroll. I want to play a ladder. I want to play roulette and level up my losses with the Fibonacci. I want to do that. And you got no money, you're going to fail. You follow? So I think get into your own head, get in your own chart, figure yourself out. What is it that's important to you? And does your position allow you to do what's important to you, right? I cannot play this way. I cannot play a DI dominant game yet because I can't fucking throw the dice. I can do it, but I'm not great. You follow me? So you got to lean into where you are in the moment. Maybe strive for something else. Maybe you're striving to have the bigger bankroll hammer and do something different, right? Maybe you're striving to be a better shooter. Maybe someday you can combine those two into one and have it be 50-50, DI and bankroll, and beat the house like a champ, right? That's what I want for y'all to think about. And that's why I did the charts last night. I owe Waylon an apology for misspeaking yesterday about this, but I think that our conversation last night led me here as a thing to talk about. So hope that that's an important slice of the pie, so to speak. All right. Now, I think I'm looking at chat as I'm talking here, and there are, there are some comments out there. So let me go ahead and let's go. No, I don't want to do that. Do I want to? Yeah. Let me check out some comments here. I think, let's see. VDT was one away from the ATS with hundreds on it. Good Lord. Hit the small knee to the 10. Should have laid it for your rack, dude. That's one of those things. And I think, I'm not going to give them a farm. I know Ed and Fran talk about this a lot, right? Do you lay the number or not, right? And I think it's clear. And you can't make this much of a hardcore statement. I think Ed did it. He said, for $5, I would never do it. I would never lay it if I had a $5 bet on the tall, right? However, if you bought in for $300 and that's all you can afford to play with, and the tall's looming, you might lay it and to win $30. Some guys, that's a meaningful number. At 100, you gotta lay it. You gotta lay it, man. You gotta lay it for sure. Interesting. All right. So Ken says, "Oh, 5 strats, same session." Okay, so I missed that, Ken. Challenge your 5 strats back to back to back in one session. Okay, we should talk about that then, because I misunderstood you. When a unit go the next, complete the 5 strats, look at the rack, be surprised. Okay, that's interesting. I thought you wanted me to go and do like a, can this one win and can it recover back? So it's just like this. Okay, we'll talk about that. I'll give it a shot and see how that works out for sure. I don't know that that's as telling to me as if a strategy can recover, because like I said, if my strategy is 110 inside, I guess it's okay. If I do 110 inside, then I want to go to the build and come back type of thing. I still have to do that if I lose. But the core strategy is to get a hit and pray, right? I think that's what we're talking about. If you're still here, come to the bottom. And yes, Ed, I did say trend. You know me, I lean on the word variant better than trend. But as a as a dice thrower, as a DI, I think you can create your own trend. And I know that's how you play, right? You're trying to create your own variants. You make your own trends. And I think that's the thing. I'll never get there, right? Or I feel like I'm never going to get there because I'm just not, my mechanics aren't there yet. 42-0. Good Lord, man, that's amazing. All right. So it's not about recovery. It's just about the core of the strat. I think it's also, Ken, probably a lot about the discipline, right? A big part of it, like you say, is do you have the ability to walk? Can you get out of there, right? Will your brain, will your mental fortitude, will your discipline muscle let your feet walk away? So there it is. Okay. So it's not about recovery. And you will call me. I know you will. So we'll get it right. But I'll do it. I'll start it next week. I might just do it every day. Like I said, I'll do it every day. We can get through it in a half an hour. Hopefully I can, and play it through. I think it's pretty cool. So, all right. I think I'm out of things to talk about. It's been a half an hour, which is what the show should be. And again, reminder that next week we go to our right time, 7:30. 7:15 is too early for this show. It's got to be 7:30 to 8. That's a good timing. I start work at 8 o'clock. It's actually perfect. Let's do that. Let's go 7:30 to 8 next week. Sorry for the bounce around, but this week I screwed up. I just picked the wrong times when I scheduled the videos out. So I'll see you there next week. Everybody have a good weekend. Hope I was clear today. And I want you to really go back and think long and hard about those pie charts. I may even put a questionnaire out there that you can answer that would create a pie chart for you, and you can get a sense of who you are. Oh my God, look who's here. Look who's here, my brother. Everybody say hi, Joe. Everybody say hi, Joe. Oh my God, I haven't seen, that's insane. Joey, my brother Joe is recovering. You know, he had that accident at work. He's recovering and he's doing really well. So I owe him a phone call, actually. We haven't talked in a couple of days. So good, man, wow. Now I'm like, I'm all verklempt now. What do I do? All right, I'm out of here. Jen started a new 501c3. I know you did. We should probably talk about that sometime. You want to put it out there, put it out there. I'm sure folks would love to help you out. All right, guys, I'm out of here. You all have a great weekend. Remember the last thing, right? The last thing that I'll leave you with this, these final thoughts here, right? Next week, we're going to talk about the interview schedule for Preps for the Cure. And we'll talk about money management and discipline. All next week's going to be money management and discipline. We're going to take Ken's challenge all week long. Okay. I'll talk to him on the phone here in a bit. We'll get it right. I'll do the right way and things. We'll get it all week. Money management and discipline. It's the only way to survive, right? They got you. They got the edge. They got time, unlimited time. They have unlimited money, right? They will destroy you. And the dice are what takes your money, right? As somebody said in chat earlier, the dice also create the trend. I think it was Waylon. Dice also create the trends, right? So what can you do to survive out there? You got to be smart, right? Play slots. Joey, play the slots. Oh my God. There you go, buddy. All right. I love you, man. I will see y'all later. Joe, good to see you out here. Everybody have a great weekend. Hug the family. God bless y'all. And I will see you on a Monday. Bye.